start when it's 100. Get those likes and subscribes.
Yeah. Good.
We're good? Okay, hi, welcome everyone. Welcome to our live audience and also our, we gotta come forward, live audience and our viewers at home to our exploratory language explanation presentation for you. My name is Tanya Budakian. I am one of the French teachers here at DAA. I've been at DAA for, I think this is my 7th school year, but the 5th in middle school, teaching French. And I also taught in the US. I've taught high school French. I'm going to pass it to my French colleague.
Thank you, Tanya. So I'm Monsieur Kelly, Kevin Kelly. I'm Tanya's colleague in the French section of the MFL department. I've been here 4 years. This is my 5th. And I've also taught French in Egypt and the Dominican Republic. In our Spanish section, over there.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Cecilia Adorani, Spanish teacher in the school. This is also my 5th year in DAA, and I was teaching many other schools around the world, so I am not going to make the list. But yes, this is also my 5th year here, and I enjoy to be a teacher here.
Hi, my name is Senor Sanchez. Mr. Sanchez. This is my 4th year at DA. I teach Spanish with Ms. Valorani, and I've also been an international teacher since 2007. Thank you for coming tonight.
Just so you have a little bit of an idea of what our classes might look like, to get an idea of some of the activities and things that we do, we have some pictures here. We have a lot of hands-on activities, other learning, things that we do that involve listening, speaking, reading, writing. Culture is ingrained also in our curriculum as we learn about the countries that speak the languages we teach. We do things that are collaborative, sometimes independent. It's just quite well-rounded, and we're very proud of the work that we do in the languages in middle school here at DAA. As hopefully you all know, your children are in their exploratory semester of language right now. So that means quarter 1. If your child was taking Spanish at the start of the school year, right now they're in French with us. And if they started out in French, they're now in Spanish with our lovely colleagues on the other side of the stage. That's what gives them a chance to test out each language and see which one they might like to study further.
Thank you, Tanya. Okay, so the first section of the learning was to practice both languages to help them get a feel of it and become familiar with some of the grammatical terms, grammatical structures, and hopefully they saw the similarities. From this point onwards, they're going to just build on that foundation that they've done in Spanish and also French, and build upon that in the semester 2. Hopefully use that knowledge to push on. At this point, we're just hoping that they got a nice feel, connection with that language, and then this evening is about having them choose one, either French or Spanish.
And that's why we are here tonight, because tonight at the end of this presentation, hopefully before 5:30, right after we finish, we are going to be opening the survey in which you will be able to make those selection. The survey is going to be open until January 18th. It opens at 5:30. And we are going to now guide you and navigate you through 5, 6, a few important items to consider when making this selection. It is a selection that you should be doing with your child, so that you both know what is best for you as a family household. And we have identified some important items for you to consider, so that you can be making that selection successfully.
Well, as I explained to my students, to your kids during the last 2 lessons, in grade 6, languages is a mandatory. So what does it mean? That, as we say so far, in the 2nd semester they are going to choose one language only, no? Now, from grade 7, the languages is optional, so it's elective. So it means that if for any reason they don't want to continue, it's not mandatory anymore. But there are some conditions. First of all, if they decide to continue the language in grade 7, has supposed to be the same language. And the reason is also according to a didactic point of view. If, for example, they decide in semester 2 to study Spanish, and then they, for any reason, in grade 7, they change their mind and they say, I want to study French, it's not possible because they will have a gap compared to the other students who were studying Spanish also all in second semester in grade 6. And the same for grade 8. That's why we say that it's not allowed to kids to skip an year. Like say, I studied French or Spanish in semester 2, I skip in grade 7, and then in grade 8 they want to be enrolled again. It's not possible because, as you can understand, the difference of level will be too much for them. And that's why we strongly recommend to our kids to think properly about it, especially now when they want to choose the language in semester 2, and hopefully they want to continue also same language in grade 7 and in grade 8.
Yes, as Ms. Cecilia said, it's really the idea behind exploratory is that they're exploring them. One of the nice things that we do as we are instructing the students in quarter 1 and quarter 2 is we have the same themes. A lot of times the vocabulary is very similar, and so the students are able to make a comparison like, oh hey, we say hello, bonjour in French, but buenos dias in Spanish. What's similar, what's different? We have them look at the language so they can, they see what looks like something that's maybe more friendly to me, what am I finding more of a connection with? That's the whole hope of the exploratory program, so that we don't have to go through changes later on in 7th and 8th grade. I hope that they should have enough information to make that decision for them. Because it's not only about grade 7 and 8, but here at DAA, that is our program, is that we are starting them off here with the hopes that they're going to continue their study of this language in 9th and 10th grade, and then ideally at the IB level, should they choose to pursue an IB diploma. So everything that we do builds, and that's what they work towards in the long run. So it sounds almost like a very heavy, serious decision, be like, you have to think about this now, but that's the reality, and as much as we like for them to be able to try their hand at different things, in order to get better at a language, as you know, we need to practice it and have long-term practice with it. So we want them to think like, hey, you're starting out in 6th grade, maybe not knowing anything about this language, but look where it's going to take you, hopefully to IB study and part of your IB diploma.
Okay, so once your child or children will make that decision, it's quite important that you make it relatively prompt, because A, we want them to make their preferred choice, and B, they're not completely guaranteed that they'll be completely with the teachers they were with before. So what we encourage is, we really encourage us to go back to what Ms. Budakin was saying, that the students are really picking the language that they feel the best rapport with, the language that they feel they'll follow through with the most. Going up into high school, we always compare it with just the flavor of ice cream. If you like that flavor, you should just really trust your instinct and go with it. It shouldn't be anything to do with the classmates they were with or the teacher they had. It should really just be focused on the content of that subject. So if they really felt like they preferred Spanish, then that should just be the decision they make, of course, along with yourselves. Again, if they like the French, that should be it. It shouldn't have any other factors.
The only thing is that the flavors, the ice creams, are not included in the class. So, now, this is something that applies to both Spanish and French. Just to give you a quick preview or a quick note, the way your children are going to be assessed on this first semester is going to be on 2 standards on semester number 1, in which they're going to be receiving those descriptive words for how well they've done. Consistently, they have consistently completed their work, sometimes or rarely. And that's going to be on the standards of writing and on the standards of reading. In semester number 2, we now move to the full range of assessments that the students have gone through in the other classes, social studies, math, science. So we're going to have formative assessments, we're going to have summative assessments, we're going to be assessing writing, speaking, listening, and reading, and the descriptors are going to be the same descriptors that they get in the other classes: mastering, achieving, approaching, and developing. In both cases, both on semester number 1 and semester number 2, they're also going to be assessed on ATL's, approaches to learning, collaboration, communication, critical thinking skills, and self-management. So this is true for both languages, and it's something important to consider for next semester because those grades will be going home. They haven't gone yet, but in semester 2, Mom, I got a 3, I got a 4, writing, listening, okay? So you will start hearing those conversations as the year progresses.
This is something very important that we would like to clarify because we had many questions during classes, also parents sometimes they email us regarding native speaker or near native speaker, and this is something that doesn't regard only middle school, also in high school we follow the same procedure, which for students who are already, let's say, high level in that language, we cannot accept them continue or, let's say, improving more and more that language in the middle school and also, as I said before, in high school. Why? Because there is too much different level with the rest of the class. So that's why, for example, right now I have an exploratory course, 2 native Spanish speakers. They already know that they are not going to continue Spanish, and it's now in semester 2, they automatically will go to French, or vice versa.
Just to add on to that as well, just to say that students who speak at a very high level of native or near native don't have the same needs, and that's why we just don't have enough students to do that. I feel bad because I understand how important it is to some families, but wait, you know, we're in an American school and we're not in a country where everyone around us speaks Spanish and French, and I really understand that, and we understand your struggle. It's just, unfortunately, it just doesn't work that way pedagogically, so here we go. If any of you who are watching at home, hello again, and anyone in the audience has a child who's in academic support or English learning language support, your child will not have been in the exploratory program and does not need to select French or Spanish for semester 2 if they are continuing on with the support that they're currently receiving. If they're not, your child's teacher would have already informed you, and I think that process would be underway. You would not be blindsided by it. Let's just say that you would definitely know if you had to pick, so don't worry. You can say bye at home if that's you on this slide, but otherwise, everybody else, you're gonna have to fill out that survey.
Okay, so just coming to the end of it. Now, this is very important for us to tell you that once we have the link released for yourselves, it's relatively important that you do it in a timely manner because we want, of course, your child to have their choice, and that might not always be guaranteed if they're a bit late with that submission, because just due to scheduling and class sizes, they might have to shift everything around, and that might mean that your child may not get the first choice. So, of course, we recommend that you get onto that in a timely manner. Hopefully, you've discussed that with your child, and you know what you're doing, so it's no problem. The link is going to be shared with you at the end of this one. It's going to be shared on the next slide. So, yeah, just to reiterate, it's a good idea to just do it very quickly, because sometimes it happens where students are not quite happy with what they've had, but it's because they've delayed a little bit too long. So if you get onto that link nice and early, there shouldn't be any problems.
And that's the link that Mr. Kelly was referring to. It is accessible through the scan QR code. The only thing is that when you do scan it and open it, it's going to be closed until the end of this presentation. It can also be accessible through the actual server link that you have there, direct link to, which is also posted in spots. So if you have opened the spots communication middle school section down to grade 6 level selection, it will be open, as we mentioned, until January 18th, 1 week from now. But as Mr. Kelly said, this is a very good idea to, as long as you are clear on your language choice and you and your child are on board, then go ahead and secure your place on that language.
And finally, in case, which I understand some parents also want to go and see more deeply the curriculum or the syllabus of each language, you have here the scan code, so you can see in our website what we do in each language. And then a reminder, I am talking for 4 of us, that when we are learning a new language, one of the most important skills is to listen to the language. And most of the time it's important that any student does according to his or her rhythm. So that's why every time we ask to our students to bring to school headphones and earbuds, which is actually is mandatory, but because it's the best way to learn a language, especially in this level, not from 0.
I think that's all we have right now, unless anyone in the room, does anyone have any questions? Yeah. Okay, the question was for the people at home, why wouldn't we consider being able to change if, for example, over the summer, a child studied the language or got better at it and wanted to make a switch? Do any of you want to answer that, or shall I answer it? Yeah, Felipe, go ahead.
You can complete my answer, Ms. Tania. The main reason is because we invest time and resources precisely to make an informed decision this time around. We could have started grade 6, asking the kids on the fly, the first day of classes, okay, choose one, French or Spanish, and we have decided, no, let's build an exploratory language learning experience in which the students have the opportunity to interact, to hear, to experience the language, and it goes for about 12 weeks, 11 weeks depending on the quarter, and for both languages. So that's precisely the goal of this exploratory program, to honor that exploratory experience, so to have the students in grade semester 2 to say, okay, my language learning experience will begin now, and this is the language, because it takes around 7 years for a student to become proficient in the language. So it is one of those things that you have to take momentum, like a plane that has to take off at some point. And also, Ms. Tania will say that grade 6 is not late, but it's not early either. In some other programs, you might start in grade 3, grade 4, sometimes you start in first grade. So grade 6 is a sweet spot to say, okay, let's do it well, slowly but surely, and let's make that decision. So that's what I would say.
Yes, that's a great answer, thank you. And to add on to that, some of it also, one of the reasons, besides that very good one, is it's protecting your child's options for IB. Now I know that people who may be in DAA right now, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, perhaps, people move around a lot. Maybe your child's not going to do IB, you might change high school's curriculum. The situation may change, but we are operating under the assumption that you're here, you're going to go through the DAA program. The IB program is very strict about how much previous study you've had of a language. So, for example, by us saying your child stays in that same language, there are checkpoints along the way, grade 8, grade 9, grade 10, to see if your child is still at that right level and has the right momentum to push them into IB study of that language. The problem is if at any point along that path, it turns out they're not ready, they're not making enough progress, at this school, what we offer in IB, we have the Arabic, Spanish, and French. What would happen then is if they haven't reached the language, let's say they're in Spanish and they haven't reached the level, the option that's available to them at that point in grade 11 is to take French as a total beginner. The problem is you can only have studied 1 year or less. So if they've done a quarter in grade 6 and then they tried grade 7 and then it didn't work so well, sometimes they don't have that option anymore. And then they're saying, well, now you have to take Arabic. And it's like, well, wait a minute, now maybe their Arabic level's not up to, it can create some problems. Not that, it's a bit complicated, I know that's like a little bit much as 6th grade parents to worry about, but part of that whole process is protecting their options and make sure that they're able to pursue what is gonna be the best for them, really, because that's what it's all about. Like, where are they gonna find the most success and where are they gonna be happy? You know, we don't want people, miserable students, you know, we want them to enjoy what they're doing and working on those things. I had another part to that. Yes, the only other exception that we would look into would be if, for whatever reason, your child had their heart set on Spanish and there's no room this year. We can talk on a case-by-case basis, like it's, you know, there wasn't any room this year, let's try and get them in next year before it's too late, and then we'll go from there. That doesn't happen very often. Maybe once or twice it's happened in the last few years, once or twice. Sometimes kids who ended up having to take the language that they didn't want are like, no, you know what, actually I'm really happy with this and I love it, and they stay with it and they keep moving on. But if your child happens to be one of the ones that like really didn't get it, we're all human, we all make mistakes. I know, I'm a parent too, and sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot to fill in that form, I forgot to do this, and you know, you don't want to do that to your own child, it happens. But like, we're not heartless monsters, we'll make something work, yes? Did I answer your question? Okay, great. Who else has a question? If at home you have questions, because and I'll get you in just one moment. I want to say our YouTube viewers, if you have questions, there is no comment for you to ask them, but you can send to either, I believe my email is on the links that are in the presentation. Oh, all of us are? Yeah. Or to your child's teacher, and we can do our best to answer. And then we'll get a question from the audience here.
Hi. So my daughter will go for sure for the IB in the 11 and 12 year. So I'm just asking, grade, we spoke about grade 7 and 8, but grade 9 and 10, we have a continuity with the curriculum. If she chooses Spanish, then the curriculum will go ahead, she will have a, I don't know how to explain. She will improve year by year. There is not going to be something.
Good afternoon. So yes, there is a continuity in the curriculum. So for example, your child, she starts studying Spanish second semester, grade 6, grade 7, grade 8. Then in grade 8, she will be recommended for which level of Spanish in grade 9. In grade 9 there are 2 levels, either Spanish 2 or Spanish 3. So from grade 9, every single year she will be recommended according to her level, okay? But for sure, wherever is the level, Spanish 2 or Spanish 3, there is a continuity. Although if they repeat, let's say, some concepts that we already taught in middle school, especially grammar, because we try to put the strong fundamental during middle school, what they are going to do is practice more and more and more, so they are more fluent and natural. Just today, after school, a couple of students of mine from last year, grade 9, they come to see me, and they told me, teacher, we are reviewing, we are still doing what we did last year in the second semester. I say, yeah, but how are you doing this? Much harder. Big text, a lot of audios. I say, so the level improved. So I hope I answered your question.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry we arrived very late. I have only one question. My daughter moved from a French school last year to DAA, and she's interested to continue maintaining her French level. I understood from her that if she chooses to continue with French, there will be an issue in the IB because she needs to study a completely new language or something like that. Is this true?
It's true, IB has quite strict rules. I know normally if your child has been taught in the language, they're not supposed to be able to, because it's a second language. So their feeling is, the philosophy is, if they're able to do science and math and social studies in the foreign language, it's not a second language, even if it might be a second or third language for your child. We could look into it more closely with the high school, the IB department, to find out. We certainly understand that you want to have your child continue with the French. I would say in the beginning it would be very easy, because, yeah. Oh, third language, yeah. Okay. Yeah, we can, if you want to send me an email, we can double check it with the high school and with the IB coordinator, just to see, because it would be nice to know. And then we can go from there to make a better personalized recommendation. A lot of times these are like a case-by-case basis, so it's hard for me to make it, and anyone who's listening, you might be like, hey, that's me too, but it may not be exactly the same. We've had families where an older child had the different kind of, I don't want to say restrictions, but they weren't allowed to do one IB exam, but the younger child was, because there was something, they had different levels, or one had the school, one didn't. It's all really, it's better to have the pros who know what they're talking about with IB board be able to help us with that. So we'll figure something out. I hope that helps. Any other questions? Okay. Oh, another one. Yes, good.
I just wanted to ask, can you repeat the restrictions for the IB?
IB?
I think this is where the problems will come, like they're really sealed. Can you
Yes.
repeat the
Okay.
restrictions?
So for, actually, this is, if anyone goes to our website, there's a whole section called Pathways that's on there. I'll explain it, so to make it easier too. But it's a visual kind of roadmap of how things work at DAA that feed into the IB system. And high school provided us with a flow chart as well about what to look at. And again, there's a little asterisk. It can be a case-by-case basis with some students. The issue, and I brought it up before, is with ab initio, and what that is your from the beginner course. So that's the one where students would start it in 11th grade, and it's a 2-year course where they're learning basically what everybody else is learning, kind of like that 5 years of language study in 2 years. So that's the one where if your child has had more than 1 year of experience, they cannot do it. So this is why I always tell my students, I think we all do, it's best for them to operate with their options wide open. Because it's very hard as a 6th grader. Do they really know what they might want to do as they get older? It may stay the same, it may not. But if they say, okay, you know what, I'm going to go with Spanish, and they just work hard at Spanish, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, at least if at the end of 10th grade they've given it their best, maybe they can keep going and go straight into IB. But maybe at that point they're like, you know what, I don't think this is going to be, you might not be as successful. And they're like, okay, I got options. I can take Arabic, I can take French. They're not going to be forced into a choice because, oh shoot, I didn't know that, and I took too much French or I took too much Spanish, and they're left with no options. So I think that's also why we say take one and stick with it, so you have those possibilities later on, and you're not like, I wish I had known that earlier. Did you want to add?
I want also to add something for grade 7. Sometimes to my students at the end of grade 6, I tell them, in case you see that languages for you is too much, it's too difficult, or for any reason, or you don't like, or you don't want to have such a headache right now, which is understandable and respectful, I tell them, don't study next year, because in this way, as Ms. Tanya said before, when they reach grade 11, they will have 3 options for ab initio. Because for Spanish or French, in case they study only second semester in grade 6, it doesn't count enough to be excluded in ab initio. I don't know, then I would like to add something else regarding ELL, because I had some case. During grade 6 last year, there were some students who were under the ELL program, so they were not doing exploratory, they were not doing the language in the second semester. But then the English teacher, at the beginning of grade 7, they told me they are ready to stop this course because they can speak properly and no problem. And the children decide to choose the language. This is the case when grade 7 that we allow them to jump to our classes, although there is a gap, as I said before, in the second semester, but this will be our responsibility to help them to fill that gap until they are in the same level of all the others.
Yeah. Other questions that sometimes the questions bring up more questions. Do we have any more? I know it sounds complicated. I think it's good that information is power, so it's good to have it, and then it helps you to better make decisions. Okay, I think that's all. If there's anything anyone thinks of in the meantime, after you wake up tomorrow and say, oh, I should have asked this, please reach out to us. We're happy to help. Again, there's so much information on our website that you may be able to find your answer there, but we're certainly available to help you and give you extra support if needed. Thank you so much for coming. I know we did say I'm going to open it at 5:30. That would be mean if I opened it earlier, wouldn't it? Yes, that would be mean. So we'll open it at 5:30. Set your alarms. Thank you so much, and thank you everybody for coming. Mr. McGarvey, did you want to say anything? No, huh?
No.
Not even a hello?
Gracias and merci.
Ah, there we go, exactly. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope it's recorded. I think it is. Yeah. It'll be on YouTube, I guess. If you go to the same link, you can find it. It should play for you afterwards. Thank you.